have some resources up there on the screen for you that you are welcome to check out, and you probably will need in some capacity. So we do have a Padlet that's involved there that has some resources that you will definitely want to have. If you happen to be a coach, feel free to join along as you are a student. And if you're students, please have some of those things available to you. You might need paper and pencil today to write down some steps that you have. And then that Padlet will help you be able to open our world that we're going to be in today. And I think we're ready to have some fun with
Let's do
coding.
it.
So, so one of the things that we want to remind you of if you're out there is just make sure your mics are muted during our time. There may be some opportunities for you to unmute and ask some questions or answer some things for us. Feel free at those times to do that, but you also have our chat as a resource, as a place where you can definitely ask us questions in the background, and one of us tends to be kind of monitoring that, so we can answer your questions quickly. And you are also welcome to give us some reactions too down there at the top where you've got your little reactions button. Feel free to do any of those things to just give us a heads up about what we're doing. We appreciate feedback as much as the next person. So today we are working on coding with Minecraft EDU. We are so glad that you are here with us today. This is one of our favorite topics, and I think it's definitely something that's a great place where you can start introducing some computer science concepts in your classes, and Minecraft is a perfect opportunity for you to do that. So I'm going to let Mrs. Nix introduce herself.
Good morning, everyone. I am Charity Nix. I'm coming to you from Shoreview, Minnesota, which currently right now does not seem that far away from Texas because we have a weather system that is connecting us from the north to the south. So depending upon where you are in Texas, we're getting some rain. Thankfully, it's not snow where I'm at right now. So I'm excited to be here with you guys. And I am excited to be with my cohort and co-teacher today, which we've been doing this for a while and have so much fun. So we hope you guys have fun today.
Very much so. And my name is Tim Gallus. I'm coming to you from Casper, Wyoming, which you probably never ever heard of or probably don't know much about. There's not a lot of people that live here, but we have our own little weather patterns and whatnot. We got a little bit of snow last night, so we're trying to get to spring, but it just won't let us completely get there. Anyways, we're just really happy that you're joining us today. So I say, in the spirit of getting some Minecraft on, let's get started on talking about what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so one of the things that we want to make sure that we point out is something called that we refer to as a Minecraft maven. And this is somebody in your classroom who is just kind of very familiar with Minecraft. Obviously, we're using the education edition today, but these are kind of the people who are able to not just be able to get into worlds very comfortably, and also be able to navigate their way through it, but also be able to get some inventory that you might need. We're going to provide some of that stuff for you, but then there's also some opportunities where, if it starts to rain or snow or, whatever it's doing, or it changes to night, where you can, I guess it's not, I'm just used to the snow coming down, but anyways, if it's changed to nighttime or whatever, you know how to change those things. And really, you just are all in when it comes to Minecraft, and you're able to help other people when the opportunity arises. So if you do have some classmates who are a little less familiar with this topic than you, and you are definitely feeling very comfortable in your skin of being the Minecraft maven, feel free to jump in and help them out, because we are going to rely on you, since we can't physically be there, to be our helpers in that capacity. Anything you want to add about Minecraft mavens?
Yes, one thing that we may want to do is, for those of you right now that are here participating with us, if you feel that you are a Minecraft maven, why don't you go ahead and raise your hand really high so that your teacher can see who those Minecraft mavens are and your classmates. So as we get going through this lesson, we know who we can maybe turn to and ask questions if we're struggling a little bit. So Minecraft mavens, go ahead and identify yourself in your classrooms right now. And teachers, take note, because again, you guys are going to be able to see who these students are that are going to be your assistants. Because I will tell you, doesn't matter what classroom I go into, I never know more than the kids. So I always have to find those mavens.
And the best news about you today, Mavens, is there's going to be lots of opportunities for you to push yourself even. If you feel very comfortable in what you're doing, that there's still going to be some challenges for you that you can maybe push your game up to the next level with. So just keep that in mind. Coding definitely presents its challenges, and it definitely gives you some opportunities to grow. I know I'm still learning myself. I don't know about you, Mrs. Nix, but I feel like I got a long ways to go when it comes to coding, but
I will always be learning.
There's plenty to learn.
That is right.
There we go. So this is one thing that we're going to use to get your attention. It's our little creeper slide. If you see this, this is a good opportunity for you to hit escape, pause your game, because we're just going to point something out to you. It's just a way for us to kind of get your attention. That way we can kind of go, because there are a few different sections to this world that we'll be in today that you can kind of stop, gather your surroundings. We'll give you some hints and other things that are maybe happening, and then we will move along after that. But you'll have plenty of opportunities to explore and navigate your way through this world. And lastly, our little back channel that we have going on is a Padlet. And this, like I said earlier, this is a place where you will want to be, because we have our world in there that's very easy for you to download, that I'm sure Mrs. Nix will show you how to do here in a few minutes. But it's just a little bit.ly there, or if you have the opportunity to scan that with your device, feel free to go ahead and it'll take you right there, so you have it when the opportunity becomes available to you. With that being said, shall we move on?
Let's do it.
All right. So our little warm up that we're talking about today, I just want you to look at this little image that we have up here, and this will look familiar to you in a few minutes when you jump into the world. But I just want you to kind of look at this right here and think about this. We've got a maze for you, right? And if you were kind of directing your way through this maze, how could you solve this maze? Because we know when it comes to coding, sequence and sequencing is probably one of the most important skills that you need to do, because a lot of things require a certain way of doing them and steps that you're using in your process. So I want you to just kind of look at this for a minute or two and think about, what would you do, or how would you tell somebody to get out of this maze using directions? So the fact that you're looking at this as a bird's eye view and you can kind of see where maybe some of these paths lead, how would you direct somebody who was maybe on the ground working their way through the maze to get through this? And I think the thing that you're going to realize too, and this comes with coding as well, is that sometimes when you're directing, you may come to a dead end, or you in a maze, or you may hit a wall, or something might happen where you've got a little bug in your program and you have to go back, revisit what happened, and then go back and try it again, changing something in your sequence. Don't be afraid of that. It's okay. You got to just make sure that you persist. Don't give up. That's one of the things that you really have to, that's a skill and that you definitely have to get used to inside of a coding world, is you've got to make sure that you are persistent and you don't give up.
Exactly. It is a mindset.
I'll maybe give you about 1 more minute to kind of look at this image and see if you could tell somebody how to make your way through this maze. All right, for the benefit of the doubt, let's just see maybe if anybody wants to come off mute or maybe share just at least maybe not the entire sequence to get through this maze, but what are some directions you might use or give to a person who was down in the trenches and is working their way through the maze? How would you direct them through this? Does anybody want to come off of mute and share some verbal directions they would give?
Let's see if anyone is brave enough to come off.
Or
of
you
mute
could
and
share it in
join.
the chat as
Yep, you
well,
could share
and
it
we
in the
would
chat
read it
too.
out loud if we wanted to.
Yep. You know, and this brings up a good point too, Mr. Gallus, as far as when we talk sequencing, all of the other things that we do in our day that has a sequence that we may not even be aware of, that we don't naturally think about.
Very true.
It looks like everybody's being shy today, so why don't we?
I know. Okay. So I'm hoping at least you would probably use some directional words, tell them to take. And the benefit of Minecraft is that they're built with blocks. So you can tell them how many blocks to move forward, take a right, turn 90 degrees, even if you had to, one of those steps, whatever you're going to do. But if we think about in our minds, like what Mrs. Nix just mentioned about some of the things that we do during our day that involve a sequence. Is there anybody who wants to share in the chat? What are some things that you do or some opportunities that arise that involve a sequence that you have to be a part of? And you're seeing right now an example of some code that you might see here in a few minutes inside of Minecraft. And you can kind of tell there's something that's supposed to happen inside of this block, and when I run this, something's going to happen with that. But is there anything that people can kind of tell us about that involves sequencing?
Everybody's quiet today. Well, I have one that maybe get the ideas going, is that when I make a bowl of cereal, like there is a sequence. Like I don't, put the milk in first. I put the cereal in my bowl first. First, I have to get the cereal bowl, then put the cereal in, put the milk in, put the milk back in the fridge. I mean, all of that is a sequence, right? And some people will do it differently, but that's okay. It's still a sequence.
You're still getting to the end game, right? In the same
That's
way.
right.
It's just in a different way. That's okay.
Mhm.
The milk in the bowl first seems a little weird to most of us, but I knew there are some people out there who do that. If you were in charge of a science experiment, you would probably want to make sure that you follow some set of directions in order to get from point A to point B, and make sure your science experiment is trying to log what you're trying to figure out. Hey, Matt, cooking recipes when you're in the kitchen all the time, right there. I mean, you've got to follow those recipes. Obviously, if you've done that where you maybe tried a little out of order, some things it works. Sometimes there's a reason to the rhyme as to why you put in ingredients.
Yep. I'm one of those that will follow the recipe to a T.
Very good. All right. So I guess we can kind of see that there are some examples of how this works, but I think I'm going to throw this over. Are you ready to jump in a world here?
I'm ready. Let's go. We're going to go right to our Padlet. So let me bring us to our Padlet.
Sharing.
And if you are not familiar, we had that bit.ly QR, or the bit.ly and the QR code there on that slide for you. And we want to make sure that we can access again, because we have on this Padlet, you can see here that we have the coding world that we're going to get into in just a second, okay? But we also have the student guide. So if you don't have a printed copy of the student guide, maybe this is a good tab to keep open so that as you guys are going through your coding, this is a good reference for you to help you and guide you throughout the coding process if this is a new situation for you. But here's our coding world. So you can go ahead and click on this, and it's going to ask you to download, or it will automatically download the world for you from the Padlet. And what we're going to do is go into Minecraft and log in. So using your credentials, I'm sure most of you are already in. And if not, you can log in with me. And again, this takes a little bit of patience sometimes. So that's always something that we learn when using Minecraft in the classroom. And I'm going to turn my camera off, Mr. Gallus, just because I want to save some bandwidth here.
Not a bad idea.
There we go. Okay, so when we get into Minecraft, we're going to go into play because we've already downloaded that world. And we're going to go into play, which is going to bring us into this dashboard. And we're going to click on this import. This is going to allow us to choose where we are bringing that world from. So when we click on import, we should see in our downloads this file that we downloaded. It's Coding Live Lesson. And because I've downloaded it several times, it comes up with a number 1 behind it, but it should say Coding Live Lesson. We're going to click open and you should get a notification that it's imported successfully. And when you get that, the world is going to show up in My Worlds. Okay, so it's automatically put that here in View My Worlds. And we can go in there and open this one up, and it should have today's date on it, which is 4/12. And when you click on it one time and then you click play, this is going to open up this world for us. Now, Mr. Gallus, we just went through a tactile maze, but the really neat thing here is that that maze was a precursor to this one, because you're now going to have to actually navigate through this maze in Minecraft. And so we're going to show you here when the world loads what you have for your resources. And we've got some specific inventory in there. But again, the first step here is anytime you see NPCs or any people, what non-player characters is what we call them, you want to make sure that you talk to them. So we're going to talk here and it says, welcome to our computer science world. We're so excited that you're here to learn coding with us. Before we get started, we have this challenge. So you need to navigate through the maze and we'll meet you on the other side. So go ahead, everyone. We're going to give you a few minutes here to navigate through the maze. And this is the thing we talked about, the sequence. And so if you look at your inventory down in your hotbar, which is the 9 squares below, if you see in the 3rd space, there's a photo. This is a photo of the maze. This is going to help you to get the sequence to go through the maze. Now, some of you may be one of those that just say, you know what, I don't want to worry about the sequence. I just want to go and try and figure it out. But remember, when you go through a maze, there is a sequence. So whether you write it down first or you navigate it, there's still a process to go through. So good luck, and we're going to get you through. Now, some of the other features that are in your inventory are the camera. And so we would love for you to go ahead and use the camera to take pictures. So you can see I have the camera here in my hand, and if I right click, it's going to take a picture, and all those pictures will be gathered into a portfolio. And we're going to show you how, as you go through this lesson, you can capture your builds, your coding, so that we can actually put that into a PDF at the end of this. So
and we love to see what all you're doing in these worlds. Like this gives us a good chance to see that you are taking care of what we are asking you to do.
Exactly. And so we're going to have you guys share your captures with us later on. So let's go ahead and get through the maze. And I should have wrote my sequence down, Mr. Gallus.
I know. Now you've got to figure out where you're going.
Yep. And we're going to run into dead ends, just like I may have right now. No, we're good. But just remember that if you do, okay, there's a dead end there. You just back up and figure out your sequence. So again, you may want to write your sequence down before you start navigating the maze, because in order to continue on with our coding lesson, we do have to get through the maze.
And I'm sure you can see that at some point you get a little hint there where you can see there's somebody at the end saying you made it, that kind of pops through the maze bushes there.
Yeah.
Give you a good opportunity to know that you're on the right track.
Getting close. All right, now I've successfully made it, but I'm going to have you guys go ahead, and we'll give you a few minutes here for you to go ahead and and get in here and accomplish the maze. And Mr. Gallus, I will tell you, with the amount of time that we have, if you do not, we might have students that may not finish the maze, and that's okay. We still are going to continue on so you guys can see the next progression within the lesson. And so it may take you a little bit longer. That's okay. I'll tell you, it took me a while the first time I went through this as well, because I really had to focus on my sequence. I had to write all that down and figure out my directions and which way I needed to go. So if you don't finish right away and in the time that we give you, that's all right. Go ahead and pause your game and continue to follow along with us. And maybe you can come back to that at a later time.
Sure. And it was very nice of our world builder to include that map for you to look at as a resource. That was a wonderful addition.
Absolutely. And Mr. Gallus, if we have any participants that have made it through the maze, if you guys could let your teacher know, and they can let us know in the chat whether you guys are good to go. Otherwise, we'll give you about 2 more minutes. Has anyone given you that thumbs up, Mr. Gallus?
I have not seen anything yet.
Okay. That's again, it's okay. It may take you a while. If you've never done a maze in Minecraft before, that itself is kind of intimidating. But again, it all goes back to the sequencing. About 1 more minute. And again, if you don't finish, it's okay. Stick with us. We're recording this so you guys can go back, pause, take the time to get through the maze, and then play it again and continue on. Maybe we have some of those mavens that have made it through real quick. And unfortunately, Mr. Gallus, we can't see this, but they might be moving around the classroom to help those other ones. That's the idea anyway, is that we would see them helping others to navigate through. Okay, if you have not made it through, it's okay. Don't stress, you can continue on, but we're going to move on to our next phase of our world. And so when I right click on my NPC, it says, congratulations, you made it through the maze. Maybe I should make it harder next time. Some of us might have thought this was very difficult, and some might have thought it was pretty easy. Again, it all comes back to how well you do with the sequencing and how well you're good at mazes. But think about these questions. How were you able to complete the maze? Did you have to use a specific order in order to complete the maze? And why is that order or sequence so important? I want you to write down some answers to that. How did you complete the maze? And did you have to use a specific order in order to get through? And why is that order so important? We'll give you a minute to write down your answers or collect your thoughts. Okay, so now that you've had an opportunity to do that, we're going to move on. And so we're going to click on this move on button. And this is going to take us to the next area in our coding world. And you will see another NPC. Okay, and this is our coding scientist. So again, we're going to talk to our NPC. And here we're going to learn more about coding in Minecraft. So here it's very important to take time to go through this information, because This is going to be key to help you through the next adventure, okay, and your adventures throughout the rest of this world. So make sure that you take a moment to explore the boards. We're going to follow what we call the golden road. You know, Mr. Gallus, you and I know the Wizard of Oz, so I always call it the yellow brick road, but
That's right.
yep, but after we're going to make sure that we follow that so we can read all of the boards and navigate to our next phase. So here on our first board, you're going to see our essential questions. Again, why are we doing this? And here's why we're doing it. Why is sequencing important when coding? Okay, we just talked about that. Why is that order important? And we kind of
that
discussed
word
this.
A lot today, I think, is sequence.
Yeah, this exactly. And we did talk about this earlier also. In what other areas of life do you see sequencing, and why is that important? So our key vocabulary word here is sequencing, which is the order of steps used to perform a task. Okay, the order of steps used to perform a task. That is our sequencing. So let's keep that in mind as we navigate through. Now, because this is a coding lesson, we also have to have some vocabulary that is relevant to coding within Minecraft. So Code Builder, this is the interface that's used for coding within the game. And again, it's built right within game, so we don't have to go anywhere else. And we're going to show you how to get into this in just a short minute. Your agent is your little robot that you can control by your code. So what you code, your little agent is going to do throughout the game. And the on start, that code is what executes automatically when you press play in Code Builder. Okay, so you're going to see this green play button here coming up and that on start block. The on chat command, this is the code that's going to execute when you add the specific commands in the chat box. So we must hit play in order for the Code Builder to exit in order for our code to work. So there is a process here. There's a sequence, Mr. Gallus, to this process.
We should keep track of the number of times we use the word sequence.
Right, exactly. We have some specific agent blocks where we're going to use an agent set block, which gives the item to build with. And some agent place, which tells our agent to place a specific block. And you'll get into this. And so those of you mavens that have already done some coding in Minecraft, maybe not in Education Edition, but if you've done some MakeCode coding before, this is all going to be familiar for you.
And I'm going to guess that some of you probably have maybe accidentally brought your agent onto screen before if you're playing Minecraft and you're at school and you're on Minecraft Education Edition and maybe you accidentally hit that button and then all of a sudden this little robot guy was on there and you're like, well, what does that guy do? We're going to tell you.
Exactly, right? And how does that happen? Well, if you take a look on our left-hand menu, if you push the letter C, that letter C is going to open up Code Builder. So let's go ahead and do that and see if our little agent appears. And again, we may have to be a little patient for this guy to load, but he is our little robot friend, and we basically are going to be coding to tell him what he needs to do for us. And if it takes a little bit of time, that's okay. That is natural. But again, if it takes a little bit too long, I might X out and try and bring him up again to refresh and see if that does the job for me. All right, let's see. I'm going to try and close that and bring it up again and see if it comes up faster. There we go.
Oh, man, look at that.
I know, isn't that crazy? So what you guys are going to be doing is creating a new project. Okay, so let's go ahead and click this green button that says new project, and let's title this our live lesson. So LL coding, so that you guys have this project, and click create. And you can see your little robot dancing and it's going to bring you right to this main page. Now you can go back and forth between Minecraft and the Code Builder, excuse me, or your coding page just by clicking this X. And then when you want to bring it up again, it should load a lot faster right to where you left off in your Code Builder. So let's go ahead and talk to our coding scientist. So if we are ready to move on, but we have one more resource for you, okay? And that's that quick reference. And so this is that quick reference guide that I referred to in the Padlet. And if you click on it here, it may take a little while to load, but that's okay. You can also open it from the Padlet. We want to make sure that you have that with you in case that you want to make reference to it. So that PDF is right here also. So I will show you this, and it's going to show you some of the blocks that you may use, what they mean, what they do, all of that. So this is that student guide that you will want to refer to. You may not need to refer to it, but it's always good to have on hand just in case. And again, it's just the little keys and the buttons to exit Code Builder, and your toolboxes here, your play or your execute code button, so on and so forth. So have that guide there for you in the event that you want to use it. Once you've taken a look at that, let's get going. Now, from here, you're going to see some specific things. You're going to see an NPC, which is your practice selection. And in here, they're going to say, okay, what you need to do is you need to work with your agent to build a line that stretches 4 blocks, like the example behind me. You will use the agent set, agent place, agent active slot, agent move, and on chat command buttons. Okay, notice there's a solution button here. So if you're struggling with your code and you need to debug it, this will help you out. And when you are ready to go and move on to practice 2 and you've completed this practice 1, you can go to practice 2. Now, at this point, we're going to kind of let you guys go at your pace. This is going to be that self-paced learning and exploration, because everything is right here for you. The first step, and I'm going to guide you into this first piece here, is that we need to bring your agent to this gold block. And you can see this sign here that says if you use this command /TP, which stands for teleport, at C is your agent, and then the specific coordinates. And if you notice our coordinates, I'm going to click my H here so you can see our position here. We have our coordinates so that we can put our agent exactly where we want them to be. Okay, so if we hit that /, and you can see our chat command comes up, and we teleport, hit space, and who are we teleporting? Our agent, which is at C, and we hit a space, and then if we read that sign, we want to make sure we got that location. So 140 space 4 space -97, and then we click this execute. There's our little agent. There he is, exactly where we need him to be. Now we need to make sure that our agent has materials to build. And so if you right click on your agent, I'm going to bring my controls back up again. Okay. So if I right click on my agent to open his inventory, notice he doesn't have any inventory. This is his inventory here. My inventory is down here, and this is my hotbar. Okay. We need to make sure our agent has materials. Otherwise our code isn't going to work because he has nothing to place. So I'm going to put some cobblestone in his inventory, and that top left inventory spot is the material that he will use to place. Okay. So I have now put that down there. I'm going to double check to make sure he's got his inventory. We're good to go. And now when I hit C, I have to code him to do what I want him to do. Okay. And so you have these toolboxes, and of course we're going to be coding our agent. There's more here than what you are going to need. Okay. So this on start, I'm not going to use that. I'm going to click and drag this back here, and it's just going to put it back in that toolbox. But I am going to use this on chat command. Okay. And I'm going to rename this to line, because I'm going to be coding him to make a line of blocks. And so here are my agent tools that are in my toolbox. So one of the first things that I'm going to need to do is make him move forward. Okay, and so I need to make sure that this fits in here, but I don't want him to place forward. I want him to move forward. So that's the right one. You will see here. Here we go. Agent move forward by 1. Okay, and when he moves forward, now we're going to have him place a block, but are we going to have him place forward, or are we going to have him place behind him? So as he steps forward, he's going to place behind. we are now starting our sequence, okay? And we need to do this how many times? Because this has 4 blocks over there, we need to do this 4 times. There's multiple different ways that we can do this, but I'm just going to duplicate this one because it's right there. So if I right click on it, it'll duplicate. It's a kind of a fast tip and trick. And you can see that I'm building my sequence. And one more time, I think we have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you have your code to test it, remember we have to click the green play button. So we have to start, which initiates our code. Now, to do this and to get our agent to actually run it, we have to use that command, and I changed my command to line, okay? And so here, I need to just type the word line and execute. There he goes.
Spelling is important, yes.
Yes.
Whatever you named that needs to be the same thing.
Exactly. And you notice he did exactly what I asked him to do. So I have completed this first task. And again, because we want you to keep track and show us what you have done, I'm going to go to my camera and I'm going to take a picture of this and use it. So you guys go ahead. We're going to give you a few minutes to continue moving through the coding pieces.
Hey, Mrs. Nix, can you open up your code window one more time for us? Because
Sure
there's
thing.
one other thing that we want to point out to you. So you probably noticed if you're one of those beginning coders and other things, these blocks are a wonderful way for you to kind of see how to code inside of these worlds. But if you're maybe a little bit ahead of the game and you've done some coding classes where you've learned a little bit of some of those different languages, in Minecraft, you do have the ability, she's showing you right now, that you can change that to JavaScript, where you're just going to basically type in those commands. And then if you're feeling super, so you can just see like that just changed everything she had as blocks into JavaScript. And then if you're even a little more advanced than that, there's a language called Python that you're also welcome to try out. If you know that and you want a little extra challenge, because the block-based coding is maybe just a little too easy for you, you have these available to you as well.
That's right. And that's a good point, because I will tell you, this is how I started to learn those 2 different languages, is being able to learn Python, going from block and going back to Python and seeing what it looks like.
Yeah, because you'll see a lot of similarities that you wouldn't think. But I mean, honestly, the commands are probably not that much different than what you see on those blocks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's a great point. Once you've completed this first one, you guys can go back to the NPC, right click on them and move on to practice number 2. And you can see you have a new challenge. And we have some options in this practice too, Mr. Gallus. I love this because as you were talking about the JavaScript and the Python as far as the language and how we're coding, here we have the ability to do this next piece, and we have more of a beginner, intermediate, and advanced option also. And so this is going to help us as a user to decide, you know what, which one do we want to try? For me, I'm going to stick with the beginner. And if I do that one fairly easily, I might move on to the intermediate and then maybe on to the advanced, depending upon how much time we have.
All right, and maybe you do really well with the blocks and you go through this entire world and then you want to go back as a challenge. You could re-download this world and go back and try it as an intermediate.
Absolutely. And again, note we have to get our agent at a specific location. So we're going to teleport them to some new coordinates, and that's going to put them on the gold block. So make sure you are interacting with your NPCs and reading through the instructions, which, Mr. Gallus, instructions are a sequence.
Oh my goodness, yes, they are. We need a little ding whenever we say the word sequence or something, you know?
There we go. Yes. I'm going to capture this with my camera. So go ahead and take some time and practice. Do those practice sessions. We'll give them about, I think, let's give them about 7 minutes just to see where we can go
Okay.
from there.
Okay. You want me to throw up a little music on the screen?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay,
Let's do it.
do that. I'm gonna switch back to my PowerPoint. And, oops.
There's a great question in the chat. Mr. Gallus says, how do we get that command line open? And there's multiple ways to do it. I have a tendency to always hit that slash, that forward slash, but sometimes it does put that forward slash in. And so we'll need to make sure that we remove that character before running your code. Otherwise your code won't work,
True.
even if it is right. So there's multiple, that or using the letter T.
I've gotten used to using the T myself.
Okay.
And also remember, this is one of those opportunities for you to practice a little patience and persistence. If something doesn't work out the first time, no worries. Just kind of look at and see what it is that maybe needs to be revisited and changed, and then go back and try that again.
Absolutely. We call that debugging our code. If our code doesn't work right away, we go figure out where we went wrong.
Right.
All building those skills of computer science,
Yes.
computational thinking.
Yes, and it is definitely your sequence doesn't work all the time. So you got to go back and give it another shot.
That's right.
a couple more minutes. Don't forget to take pictures using your camera. Even maybe if something didn't work out the way you wanted it to the first time, that'd be a good way for you to label and say first attempt.
That's right.
Try it another time.
You know, we could even have difficulties even teleporting our agent to the correct place.
Right. Yes, those
if we don't get
coordinates are
those,
super important.
Yep. If we miss those coordinates even by 1, it's going to make a difference. I'm going to try and share my screen here again. All right. So hopefully you guys have been able to get through some of your lessons and some of these activities, and you've taken pictures using that camera of your builds or of your coding. And if you have not, we're going to give you some time here to do that. But once you use that camera, all of those pictures go into what we call a portfolio. And this is how we're going to have you guys share your awesome coding skills with us. And in the number 2 slot of your inventory hotbar, you will see the portfolio. And when you right click, you're going to be able to open that portfolio and you will see all of the pictures that you have taken. And so what we would like you guys to do is to go ahead and put captions in here. And then go ahead and we're going to export this portfolio so we can see what you did. Teleporting my agent. And here was my first task. Okay, and you get the idea of how you can put these captions in here. And so your portfolio can tell a story just by putting in these captions. So I'm going to click on Export Portfolio. What this is going to do is it's going to export each of your pictures and captions onto one page of a PDF file. So I'm just going to export this to my downloads, but you can choose where you want it to go. And notice it titles it with my name and the live lesson and the date. So I'm going to click Save. And now what we would like you guys to do, and if you're not ready to do this yet, that is okay, but we're going to have this Padlet available for you so that we can see what you guys were able to do. So you might have needed more time to do the export and to do these lessons. And so we're going to go back here to the Padlet and you see where it says student builds. There's 3 columns. Doesn't matter which one you use, but we're going to have you click on this plus button. And we're going to have you upload your PDF that you exported from Minecraft so we can see the amazing things that you guys have been able to do. If some of you are already at that point and you have exported, great. If not, you can do it at a later time. We just want to see all the amazing things that you guys have done. So we simply go and find that PDF file and click open. And it's going to bring it into this little section here within the Padlet, and as soon as the publish button allows us, we will be able to publish that. And again, because I have Minecraft going, it's going to take and bog me down a little bit.
I think the point being though too, Mrs. Nix, is if you are a teacher out there too and you're seeing this, like, yes, you're sharing this with us, but this is a good way for your students to also share their work with you. Since making a PDF, like whatever you might use, like if you're using a Teams, like we happen to be using Teams today, that's a great place to turn these assignments in so they can check out your work and see how you did inside these worlds.
Exactly. It's a great tool for assessment. And so I'm going to just show you what this will look like now when your students export those PDFs and they upload them. So even though they're uploading to our Padlet, if you want them, like Mr. Gallus said, to upload them to a certain place for you, you can use this as a lesson yourself right here. And you can assess what your students were able to do. And it's still loading here. There we go. And you can see the images with the captions, one on each page. And so here you can see that I was able to successfully code my agent to do that first task. So it demonstrates that I had the ability to do that. So if you are able to, you can share those with us now. If you are not ready to export those yet, that is quite all right. We wanted to show you that process so that you have it and we can see the fantastic stuff that you guys are doing with us.
That's right. And I did notice you had a book and quill inside of your inventory too, correct?
I did, yes.
Yeah, so that's another opportunity for a teacher or whoever might be wanting to assess your work to get a little more in depth where you may be writing down, like maybe you were logging some of the code that you were typing in, or you were typing in some of the commands that you used to show how you coded your agent to do those tasks inside of Minecraft.
Absolutely. And again, it's just one more step to take it one step further. If you want to start with the captions and the portfolio, you can, and that's that initial start. But if you really want your students to write and explain how they did that code and what that looks like, then you'd use that book and quill, and you also export that as a PDF. And you can upload those as well.
And I'm just going to throw this out there too, but like if you're a teacher and you're looking for more stuff, like this is a wonderful world too, but there are some other opportunities for students to go in that are pre-built. There are lessons and worlds that are specifically for coding that I think you might want to check out beyond this as well. So there's plenty of opportunities for you to grow and learn how to code inside of Minecraft.
Absolutely. And just a quick one is the hour of code from this year, which is the time lapse. And it was amazing because students get to choose where they want to go. There's 3 different places that they can go back in time to, and it's a lot of fun. So there are some great options. Plus there's a full computer science curriculum. If you go to the subject kits, you can see computer science and start from scratch. Your little ones, even from kindergarten, 1st grade, just
True.
being able to teleport their agent to them, it's fun.
Very true. All right. So there's just a couple other little things that we want to share with you. This happens to be one of them. So we are almost out of time here for today, but you students out there, hopefully you enjoyed your time in here. Maybe you'll still get some other opportunities to go back in that world and explore a little bit more and do those things. Teachers, if you happened to be joining with us today, you will get some digital certificates that will be sent to you or emailed to you. There will also be some stickers on your way. And please, this is kind of our big thing that we would really, really, really love for you to do is if you complete the survey that is right there, you can either scan that QR code. It should take you straight to this little form that we have you fill out. It's not a very long form, but just like we mentioned earlier about feedback and how important it is and that we love being here with you, but we want to know what you enjoyed about it, what you would change, any of those things. So if you could go to this survey form, fill that out, you also get put into a drawing for a $25 Amazon gift card, which who doesn't need that in their life?
Right? Is that a need or a want? Going back to our social studies lesson, right?
True, but Amazon has everything, don't they?
I think so. I mean, everybody says that they do. Another thing is, and this is something that we want to reiterate. This is our last live lesson that we've done. But you have the teachers in Texas here. You guys have access to all of the lessons that we've previously done. They've all been recorded, and so if you didn't get a chance to join us live, you can go back and watch the recordings, much like we're recording this one. And your feedback, like Mr. Gallus said on these surveys, is so very important, because if this is something that we could do with others or do again, we got to have that data to be able to support that. So we appreciate your feedback. And if the students did not complete all the tasks, which I'm guessing a majority of them didn't, when you hit save and exit in your game, that's going to keep that place where your students were at. So they're not going to have to start all over again. They will go back to that world. They will click play again, and they will start where they ended. And so just note that. And those worlds are saved to the specific device that they're on. And so whatever device that they are on right now, that world will be saved in View My Worlds. and they can go back and just start where they ended. So it's not like having to go way back to the maze and getting through that maze again, Mr. Gallus. They can just start right where they were at.
Oh, that would be very handy because you might, who knows, that persistence would come into key. All right. So I did throw that little survey link in the chat if you're with us still, and you're welcome to still fill that out so you can get into that drawing. But other than that, I think it's been a pleasure being here with all of you today, and we appreciate your participation. And thank you for joining us. Like I said, coding is a wonderful world for you to explore and be a part of, and we hope that you take that and run with that ball.
That's right. And again, if you didn't get a chance to see the previous lessons, go back and take a look at those too. We've got one for just about every subject area. We've got the math, social studies, English language arts, social emotional learning, science. They're all there for you guys to take a look at and explore with your students. And please make sure you share those student products with us. We would love to see on our Padlets what your students are creating and coding.
All right,
and Mr. Gallus, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
True. Thank you as